In fact, even my work with the Zealots was all done through him. If a trespasser comes into your home and threatens your livelihood, do you not have the right to defend yourself? I would argue neither side has a reason to continue such a pointless fight. I absolutely deny it. My computer has obviously been tampered with. This is clearly not enough evidence to even consider me a suspect. Diviner, Armiger, the evidence, if you please. One day, the youngest falls into a pit of quicksand. The eldest, filled with bitterness and anger, ponders, leaving him to die. Pickpocket! Stop! Please. Some of us have places to be. A slate incriminating Okim Kadik as the murderer of Ukarudul Kef and the primary contact with the Zealots. Vindicator, but my purpose has always been to strengthen House Faroon, not weaken it. Serpent's breath, it's the Vindicator! I was at the spaceport, attending to business. I'm surprised such a question can be asked with the city in such disarray. I focus on high-level concepts and strategies as opposed to the day-to-day operations. With regards to politics, these days I'm mostly an advisor. Impossible. But I suppose adversity makes strange bedfellows. You're putting the goat before the horns! The issue is not the supplies, it's the workforce! She's never forgiven me for it. And I fail to see why. It's petty and unprofessional for someone of her position. Then why don't we ask the Vindicator? Even if reconciliation is far-fetched, we can still influence and convert individual members of House Malin, because we are all in need. Everyone was affected by the accident, including the people here. The problems are obvious, and yet those in power continue to emphasize patience and measured responses.
Static.
I only witnessed the crest of the vortex emanating from the scaled citadel. Thank you, Vindicator. And if it takes this supply issue to be resolved for us to address the personnel problem, so be it. To do nothing is its own choice, and one that I fear will leave us in conflict. Earlier when we spoke, you equated reconciliation with treason. But if the origin of one's conflict no longer exists, what purpose does the cycle of violence serve? What troubles you, Reverend? I'll turn myself into the guards and confess to my role in my crime. I joke that I'm mostly a glorified rubber stamp. But my days working the field are over. Reconciliation with the hardliners should be off the table. But we can find members within who are willing to abandon the Serpent's crusade. I concur. And the infighting serves only to weaken House Faroon and Dazra. Do not ever attempt that again. Stop this nonsense! Someone is being attacked! What troubles you, Harbinger? There has been an attack! Guards! Davina and I have history. She blames me for derailing her political ambitions, but I'm also not campaigning to conscript their soldiers. The missing supplies, the deaths, he is responsible for it all, and I have ample evidence to back up this claim. I am here to serve, Harbinger. Do you think the cycle of violence can be broken? Or are some conflicts absolute? Give it back, or I call the guards! I would say that kind of work will be unnecessary going forward. As for the future, I'll likely have to take a break from my activities. Until next time, Harbinger. Go away. I spend most of my time working at the Ministry of State. Dismissed? I think you forget your station. Then why don't we ask the Diviner? A handful of supply shipments are a meager exchange for an entire clan of allies. Greetings, Harbinger. Indeed. The slate, if you please. What are you doing? Know your place. Great Serpent! Murder! So let us speak frankly for a moment, if we may. He was the one who presented me with the plan to aid the Zealots. He had worked out all the details. Our agents mostly work in the settled systems, but I have contacts in Dazra as well. I can set up a meeting at the Halls of Obedience. What troubles you, Vindicator? You've been busy, Adherent. Tavina's involvement is no surprise. She's always held a grudge against me. Executor, Armiger, if you have business with House Kadik, speak to Razma. Guards! Guards! I would expect nothing less from someone of your capabilities. Ah, yes, that. The case is closed, and we found the culprit. I tell you what, you can keep it as a souvenir. Jimal and I disagree on a great many things. Suffice to say, I am proud to call Razma our elder. If we can confirm the authenticity of the recording, then yes. And make no mistake, the three of you will pay for this insult. What are you doing here? We shall see which one carries more weight. Yes, my intel says you came back with a slate in hand. I imagine the contents of which are incriminating. I offered to provide her a security detail, but I had arranged the assignment through my ward Okim. But the murders, the violence, these were not directives I had ordered. If I am guilty of anything, it's being a rubber stamp. I will try. But I have found them to be as stubborn as their namesake implies, and I see now. That person must be me. Fine. If this is how I serve, so be it. Thank you, Diviner. Let's just say recent events have reminded me of an old parable about a father and two sons. The time for armigers is over. An armistice could benefit both sides. What is going on? It's your word against mine. We shall see which one carries more weight. I'm here to serve, Vindicator. Yes, there was one more thing. I am merely stating a hypothetical, and I'm not saying the sinful should be absolved of their crimes. You may be right. But what if the origin of the conflict itself no longer exists? I heard the news. Sahima and Gavin dead, hostages too. When will this cycle of violence end? Can we not see this is folly? I am here to serve, Armiger. Oh no! You've been busy, Reverend. And then someone tipped Ukaru Dulkef off and set this whole thing in motion. I feel quite foolish now, having taken the bait, which would be treason if it were true. No, I have kept my actions separated from both Razma and Jimal. But I digress. Even if I wasn't steered toward this outcome, I would do it again, if given the chance. In the end, it was necessary. What troubles you, adherent? Earlier when we spoke, you told me the cycle of violence cannot be broken. Your discretion in this matter is most appreciated. Until next time, Armiger. I expected more from you than these childish little taunts. So be it! Guards! I've nothing to say. I heard what happened with the representatives of House Malin. Unfortunate business all around. Surely this could have been handled another way. Do you know who they are? If we are to stand on equal footing with the outsiders, we must rebuild Dazra to its former glory. What? This is outrageous. House Kadik denies all involvement in this conspiracy. Of course, because I have nowhere else to go. Your testimony will be enough to launch an investigation, after which there will undoubtedly be things uncovered. But no, absolutely not. What you speak of is treason. I will have no part in it. Help! Pickpocket! Until next time, Diviner. Talks with House Malin may continue in the future, but I have my own issues to sort out first. Thank you, Executor. But if Okim was indeed a traitor to House Faroon, then he deserves no mourning. You've been busy, Vindicator. I have no idea what you have planned, but I know Tavina holds a grudge against me, so I have little faith this trial will be a fair one. I wasn't aware. Greetings, adherent, but we shall see. See? When confronted with the facts, even your own investigator has taken my side. You don't even have the evidence to make me a suspect. I am here to serve, adherent. In fact, I find this entire trial to be a farce, and I will not give it any more credence than it deserves. And if we are to reintegrate House Malin, we need to show them our aid isn't contingent on our abundance. Best of luck, nor should I have to. A single slate, which I might add is likely fabricated, is not enough to prove anything. Then I'll take my leave. The cortege has arrived at the spaceport, and I don't like to leave the crew waiting. Greetings, Reverend. Of course, I am not denying my role in all this. So out of respect for Kisrani and the crew of the cortege, I will not keep them waiting any longer. Reverend, without getting too caught in the seaweed, a long time ago, I received some bad intel from a source on a zealot hideout. I will continue to do the work necessary to ensure House Faroon remains strong. Oh, and before we meet with Kisrani, take this slate. It should be enough to satisfy the Executor. Goodbye. Now is not the time for red tape. The more caution we exercise, the more people will suffer. Help! My incarceration was a mistake. Dazra needs leaders such as myself. I have a ward, Okim, who handles all the so-called dirty work. I merely give my approval to execute it. But now that the Serpent's Crusade has been reconstituted, there is nothing blocking reconciliation. Our beliefs are one and the same. Good point. And now you have the gears in my head turning. If we were to give them the supplies, there was no murder, only self-defense. She will likely not survive once all the evidence comes to light. I will have to tread carefully, however, to obfuscate my part in this. So you overheard us. Well then, let me answer your question with a question. In my argument back there, I advocated for more workers, even if it meant reaching out to our enemies. You seem to lack confidence in your choice. Perhaps that's what prompts this discussion now? In particular, I offered to help find the missing supplies. I have my people looking into the matter as well. Somebody help me! If that's so, then whoever this person is, they're far more dangerous than I. You must be confident to make such an accusation. And my intel says you came back with a slate in hand. I imagine the contents of which are damning. I'm afraid Tavina has already sicked her wardens upon the place. It is no longer a safe haven for House Malin. I don't regret my choices. Time will reveal them to be the right ones. Then why don't we ask the Armiger? Why should I willingly confess and ensure my death? I'd much rather argue my case in front of my peers. I had a feeling it would come to this, ever since that conversation at House Kadik. But I fear this may be a death sentence for both the people of Jandar's Rest and Dazra. I admire someone like yourself. You have a strong moral conviction, but also understand that justice is not always black and white. I will cooperate, but this is by no means an admission. Of course, you've managed to piece together this case at a pace I did not anticipate. You're practically an oracle to have connected the dots so quickly. Even I did not expect you to make it so far, so fast. My goal was to inform them once I had something more concrete. Goodbye, diviner. Guards! A pickpocket! The resolve Razma showed in the wake of the cataclysm is admirable. This is not a time for weakness. Greetings, diviner. I wholeheartedly agree. We do not have to forgive, but we can let go. You will be rewarded for closing this case, as Kizrani would have wanted. The speed at which things have unraveled, it makes me wonder how much of this outcome has been orchestrated, which is just a stone's throw away from trespasser. How could this be? Until we meet again. Greetings, Vindicator. I am here to serve, diviner. And as much as I'd like to continue this debate, I have my own business to attend to. So I must depart for now. Until next time, Reverend. Serpent's breath, it's the adherent. Adherent? Haste doesn't suit you. So before you go in there and report your findings, hear me out. You've been busy, diviner. Your flippant attitude only gives me more conviction. You only see what's in front of you, and not the big picture. Reverend, the evidence, if you please. And I must say, I take some small amount of pleasure in what's about to happen. Next time I call the guards, and they are not kind to thieves. Help! Thief! Return that this instant! Yes and no. I may have been pushed toward this outcome, but I do not regret my actions. You give yourself too little credit. Finding this slate is better than a smoking gun. Excellent work. I have long suspected I was manipulated into aiding the Zealots. It was almost too easy. It's far better for me if I get ahead of the inquiry, confess my crimes, and ask for clemency. But I imagine that only by working together can a family prosper. And the alternative brings us both to ruin. So I brought a few extra guards just for this situation. I give the command, and you will not leave here alive. I don't have time for delays. That's fair, but it begs the question. What else has House Dulkelf been hiding? He takes the fall, and I continue with my operations unabated. I don't know what evidence you've gathered, but without anything concrete, it's your word against mine. Where did you even find this? We'll have to burn that location regardless. I imagine Tavina has likely sent her inquisitors to clear the place anyway. How could you find our home? Oh, I assure you it was 100% personal. That is my fear. The cycle of violence may be as inevitable as the shrouding. A small price to pay for the future of Dazra. Is this what you called me to your office for, Kisrani? This is an absolute disgrace to your department. You do not belong here. If you feel you're in danger, I can provide a security detail. My people are nothing if not capable. Greetings, Armiger. I see I have little choice but to comply. If you don't mind getting to the point. Serpent's breath, it's the Reverend. The recording is mostly authentic, but the ending has been heavily edited to absolve me of all involvement. Correlation does not imply causation. Even you should be aware it's not enough. Then I have no choice but to defend myself from you and House Vithal. Then why don't we ask the Reverend? This may sound radical, but if we could reunite with some of the exiles from House Malene. I've been thinking about the events of the past few days, and I have some thoughts. I find that hard to believe. The conflict of interest alone is troubling. I'll arrange for him to conveniently disappear. While loyal, it's better for us both if he isn't available for questioning. What troubles you, diviner? I will depart because I am needed at my ship, not because you deem me unnecessary. The eldest son was dutiful, the youngest disobedient. But the father loved both equally, and the eldest resented this. By the great serpent, Jinan's breath! But the murder of Kisrani Dulkef is not on my hands. I only sought to protect her, and the zealots took things a step too far. My word, serpent's breath, it's the harbinger. I agree. The perpetrator is in this room, and I'm speaking to her now. You are doing House Faroon a great service. You are not walking away with that. This proves without a doubt the two were working together to conspire against all of House Faroon. I won't apologize for my actions. Everything I did for Dazra. I am here to serve, Reverend. That is a credit to you as an investigator. What could this mean? The incident was high profile, and the fault was attributed mostly to her. You've been busy, Armiger. How would it look if the moment our supplies had diminished, we kept them all for ourselves? No! What have you done? I am not making an accusation, but I do find it suspicious that the branch that lost the shipment is handling the investigation. Thank you. When I heard you return from Jandar's Rest, I did not expect us to be on the same side. I'm a loyal servant to House Faroon. Exactly. At this point, it would be foolish to ignore the connection between them and the supplies. A charge we can also attribute to Okim. I asked him to set up the security detail, and naturally, I feel terrible about it. What is the meaning of this? Good. Silence suits you, Tavina, as will a prison cell. Guard, take her away. Apology accepted. While I was not involved, it gives me no pleasure to have the culprit come from my own house. We'll talk more later. I am a busy man, but I will try to make time. Your kind is unwelcome in Dazra. Goodbye, Harbinger. Regarding the missing supplies, I was wondering if I could be of any assistance. Goodbye, Armiger. They're the only neutral party here, and I'm quite positive their investigation came to the same conclusion. What troubles you, Armiger? That all went out the door once Ukadudul Kef caught wind of the missing shipments. Until next time, adherent. Excellent. I trust you're a person of your word. And yes, I understand the reluctance with House Malin. Their crimes go beyond forgiveness. You should not be here, outsider. I do not speak with outsiders, but if my ward was in her employ, it's safe to say most of the blame will fall on him. Goodbye, adherent. They are the ones commonly known as zealots. Fanatics who believe peace should never have been made with the settled systems. We should not be seen together. Until next time, Vindicator. Not exactly. I'm sorry, Executor, but you've been misled. If that's so, then whoever this person is, they are far more dangerous than I. Yes, I approve to have the supplies rerouted. And yes, I ordered that they be directed to the zealots. The crimes in question were perpetrated by a lower member of House Kadik, Okim. You lying little... you leave me no choice! That was regrettable. Do not do that again. Given the choice, they will choose martyrdom over cowardice. Until then, I suggest we keep our distance. But know that I'm forever grateful for what you did today. Thank you. You have no right to be here, outsider. Thief! You will not get anything out of me. Tavina Vithal orchestrated this whole thing, and this recording proves it. You mock me, but your evidence is flimsy, circumstantial, and speculative. I see nothing here that should concern me. I couldn't agree more. And my findings back that accusation up. Put that back, now! An outsider. How can I be of assistance? Then why don't we ask the Harbinger? Great serpent. Executor. Wait. Before you go in there and report your findings, hear me out. A blessing? An omen? The warden has no idea what's coming. She will reap what she has sown. I have a ward, Okim, who I've used to keep myself separated from this operation, and also serves as the perfect suspect. Serpent's breath, it's the Armiger. Earlier when we spoke, you told me that the cycle of violence can be broken. Let the record show this slate is a recording of Tavina Vithal and my ward, Okim Kadik. I wish Gavin would take more of an interest in politics. Science alone is not enough. You must convince people of its merit. Thank you, Harbinger. It's understandable. The accident has affected all of us. We can present the evidence when you're ready. I will count on you to follow my lead. It's a complicated question, but if the roots of the conflict were to be removed, even the most robust of trees would fall and wither. You've been busy, Harbinger. Harbinger, it is that kind of thinking that will delay the shrouding. But it's clear I have no sway over you. You said so yourself. My ward, Okim, was deeply embedded in this operation, and thus serves as the perfect suspect. Goodbye, Reverend. Oh. Adherent, the evidence, if you please. But the war with the settled systems was never meant to end, which means we have no differences with the so-called zealots. Thank you, Reverend. Let me go. Allow me to continue my efforts discreetly for the betterment of House Faroon. Leave me be. Now, Tavina used that intel to launch an attack and ended up taking out a camp of civilians. You are not welcome here. I let my ward Okim handle all of that. He sends me proposals, I weigh in, and give my approval. I've even made him captain of my ship, the Cortege. We need workers, healers, and engineers. People who can help rebuild Dazra, not tear it down. And of course, you'll have my full cooperation as well. Any records regarding my ward you need, I will provide. Thank you, adherent. Hold on. You knew the Executor was investigating the missing supplies? There may be a conflict of interest here, especially if the culprit is from their own house. I admit that I was presented an opportunity and took advantage of it. This cannot be happening! Maybe so, But once a suspect has been established, it can be like pulling a loose thread. The rest comes undone rather quickly. What are you doing? Leave this place, outsider. Based on what evidence? House Kadik does not deal in trade. Your house does. Then why don't we ask the adherent? Diviner, the evidence, if you please. What do you mean? What revelations? Indeed. And your timing is apt. The cortege has arrived at the spaceport, and I don't like to leave the crew waiting. And why continue to fight if the reason for conflict is no longer an issue? Enough of this! Give it back! Vindicator, the evidence, if you please. I trust you'll understand if I don't reveal the location of their next hideout. This recording, it's of Okim and Tavina. I pray that you have not doomed us all. The parable ends here, leaving the reader to contemplate the end. But to assume any group is a monolith is absurd. Thank you, Armiger. But before you proceed into that room, I must ask, do you have the proof you need? Is it solid? Serpent's breath, it's the diviner! United with House Malin, we can rebuild Dazra as the industrial and military force it was during the Serpent's crusade. I still find this whole thing highly irregular. However, so long as the investigation is in independent hands, I must begrudgingly accept. Choose your words carefully. Convert or not, you're still an outsider. It lasted only a moment. A flash in the sky. It was only the hours afterward that we understood the consequences of that moment. I had no part in that. What? Harbinger, the evidence, if you please. Unbelievable. I'm sorry, but I will not let my work here go to waste. Either let me go, or draw your weapon. There is no other choice. Goodbye, Vindicator. You disappoint me, convert. Which is why I ask that you listen to my proposal.